Hello and welcome to Millie Monkey. And there she is right there. She's trapped within this trapezoidal prism. That is correct, my friends. Hey, this is a work with me problem, so you should have all your materials in front of you and be ready to solve this problem side by side with me. Without further ado, let us move on to our scenario. Horace the Hoarder loves monkeys. Once he catches an animal, he never lets them go. He caught Millie Monkey last week and trapped her within this trapezoidal prism. Millie Monkey begged for Horace to let her go, but he just shook his head. That is not nice, Horace. Now, it's up to you. Solve for the volume of Millie Monkey's trap, and Horace the Hoarder will have to return Millie to her family home. Alrighty, so the very first thing you want to do is copy the trapezoidal prism here. And what I'd like to do, or what I'd suggest you do, is start by copying the front face of this, which is the trapezoid, right? And get that copied. And then if you just draw kind of diagonal lines like this, this, and this, then you can add these lines here in, right? And then after that, make sure you get all the measurements. The height is 26 meters. Base 1 is 19.5 meters. Base 2 is 14.5. That's from here to here. And then your depth, you could call this your height too. Your depth is 7.5 meters. And I'll talk about this depth and height in a moment. But I'd like you to get that copied. Once it's copied, hit play, and we will continue on, my friends. Alrighty, so as you know, the formula for volume is V equals length times width times height, right? And normally that works really, really well. However, when you have an irregular polygon like this one here, where you have a trapezoid here, and so it's not as easy as length times width times height, right? Then you have to get a little more creative. And what I like to do is solve for the very front face, right? And that is your area, which is really the same as length times width, right? So in this case, we'll solve for the trapezoid, the area of the trapezoid, and then we'll just multiply it by the depth, or this can also be thought of as a height if this is tipped up so that the height was going from the floor up to the top of the face here with Millie here, and that would be 7.5. So once again, if I figure out the area of the trapezoid, I can change this formula to V equals area times height. So what I'd like you to do right now is go ahead and pause the video and copy down V equals length times width times height, and then change length times width into area, and get this all copied, and then we will move on from there, my friends. Alrighty, my friends. So the first thing we're going to do is figure out the area of the trapezoid, and that means we're going to take base 1 plus base 2, and then divide that by 2, and then multiply all that by the height. Now, let's talk about that for a moment here, okay? Remember, when you have a trapezoid, you've got a height, a base 1 here, that is shorter than your base 2 here, right? Actually, I got that backwards. Here's base 1. Base 1 is much longer than base 2, right? And what we want to do is we want to average that out. So if I have this as a, let's make this a blue colored box, right? So if I have this blue box here, and what I want to do is see here we've got the bottom nice and long, right? And the top only goes to here, right? So if I take base 1 here, right? Base 1, and I add it to base 2, and then I divide by 2, what I'm actually doing here is I'm actually taking a little bit off of the top, off the bottom of each side, and adding a little bit to the top, right? So what I've done is I've taken some from the bottom, and I've added that to the top to find an average, and then I've really created a rectangle, right? And that's why this formula works, because then I can just do base times height, right? And that's what's happening right here and with the formula for the trapezoid. But let's get rid of this because we want to just get on with the formula and solve for the area of this front trapezoid. So what I'd like you to do right now is go ahead and pause the video and copy the formula for this trapezoid right here. Get that copied and then hit play and we'll move on, my friends. Superb. All right, so let's go ahead and change the color now. We'll move to red here, and we're going to rewrite the formula, but this time we're going to plug in the numbers. And as you see here, base 1 is right here, and it's 19.5. So let's go ahead and write 19.5. And then we're going to add the base 2, which is right here, 14.5. So for base 2, we're going to plug in 14.5 right there. So we've got 14.5. Now that all gets divided by 2, and we got that in parentheses. And then we're going to multiply it by the height, and the height is right here, going from there to there, and it is 26. So we're going to plug in the 26, and go ahead and pause the video, copy this, and then hit play, and we'll move on from there. Superb. All right. Let's move on, and now I'm going to change the color again, and we're going to start to work and add these together, okay? I'm going to just add them from here. So 5 plus 5 is going to give me 10. I'm going to drop a 0 and carry my 1 over here, and I've got to add these decimals, right? So they would be lined up. So I'm going to put my decimal right there. Bingo. And then I've got, in the ones column, I've got the 9 plus the 4, which would give me 13, plus this 1 here would give me 14. So I'm going to drop my 4 and carry my 1 right there. And now in the tens column, I've got 1, 2, 3. So I've got 34. And you really don't need this 0 here, but we're going to leave it there for right now. And then I'm going to just drop the rest of the equation. I'm going to drop the divided by 2. So divided by 2. And I'm going to put that in parentheses. And then I'm going to keep the 26, just drop that 26, and I'm going to drop the A equals. And this is the next step. So go ahead and pause the video, copy this section, and I will wait for you, my friend. Superb. All right, we will change the color again. Let's go to black again now. And now I'm going to go A equals. Now, the next step is whatever is in parentheses and half of 34, right? So I can just do this in my head. Half of 30 is going to give you 15. So hold that 15 in your brain. And then half of 4 is 2. So you're going to add 15 plus 2, which is going to give you 17. So you're going to put 17 here. And because 34 divided by 2 will give you 17. And then you're still multiplying it by 26. And anytime you have a number right next to parentheses, it means multiply, right? So we're going to multiply these two numbers. But for right now, go ahead, pause the video and get this copied, and I'll wait for you. Superb. All right, let's move this up a little bit so we have just a little more room. And now we are going to actually just do the multiplication. I'm going to use blue for this color, and I'm going to just take 26 and multiply it by 17. And that will give our final answer. 7 times 6 is going to give you 42. Drop your 2, carry your 4. 7 times 2 is 14, plus this 4 is going to give you 18. Drop the 8 and the 1. Drop a 0, put an X in it because this 1 is really a 10. It's not a 1's place, it's a 10's place. Super. So you got to hold that place value. So 1 times 6 is going to give you 6. And 1 times 2 will give you 2. And then all we have to do is add these bad boys together. 2 and nothing is going to give you 2. 8 and 6 is going to give you 14. Drop the 4, carry the 1. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 2 is also going to give you 4. And right there is the area of the trapezoid up here. So 442 is the area that we'll plug in over here in our formula for volume. So go ahead and pause the video and get this last part for the area copied. I'm going to actually just make my A equals right there, and I will wait for you as you copy that. Alrighty, my friends. So let's move back up here, And we're going to now continue our formula for volume. V equals, and now we're using the area of this front trapezoid, right? That we just figured out, it's 442. So we'll plug that in, 442. And that's going to get multiplied by our height, or in this case, you can think of height and depth as the same. So in this case, we'll think of the depth of 7.5. So we're going to just plug in 7.5 right there. Perfect. All right, well, let's do our math over here. And we're going to simply take the 442 and multiply it by 7.5. Now, before we do this, I want you to pause the video and get this copied, and then we'll move along and go to the next step. Perfect. All right, let's rock and roll. We're going to start with the 5. 5 times 2 is going to give you 10, and then drop your 0, carry your 1. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is going to give you 21. Drop your 1, carry your 2. And 5 times 4 is 20, plus this 2 is going to give you 22. Perfect. Drop a 0, put an X in it. Why? Because this 7 is really a 7. It's not a 7/10, right? So you got to hold the place value for the tenths place because this is in the ones place. Super. 7 times 2. That's going to give you 14. Drop that 4, carry that 1. Then 7 times 4 is 28. Plus this 1 is going to give you 29. Drop your 9, carry your 2. And then you've got 7 times 4 again, still 28. Plus 2 is going to give you 30. So drop the 0 and the 3. And now all we have to do is add these bad boys together. 0 and 0, well, that's going to give you 0, my friend. And then you got 4 plus 1 is 5. 2 plus 9 is 11. Drop your 1, carry your 1. And 2 and 1 is 3. And then drop your last 3. But you're not quite done. You got one loop-a-doop here. So we're going to go one loop-a-doop right there. And your decimal will go right there. And then you get your final answer. Actually, wait a second. Let's put in our comma here. And right there is your actual answer. 3,315. So we can plug this in right here. So V, let's get black again. V equals 3,315. And we're talking about meters, and they are cubed because you have 3 dimensions, length, width, and height. And that right there is your answer. Pause the video, finish copying this and copying this here, and I will wait for you as you do it. Superb, my friends. So, hey, the good news is, we have officially saved Millie Monkey, and now Horas the Hoarder will have to return Millie to her family home. Thank you to you for helping me do that, my friends. Hey, our next problem will be very similar to this, so hopefully you understand how to do this stuff, and on the next one, you'll get a little bit more practice. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon.